What is popular culture? What is popular culture? To figure that out, we should examine the meanings of the two words separately, then see if we can combine these two meanings into a concept that comes close to what we think of when we think of popular culture. This taking a subject apart into its component pieces, understanding each, then putting them back together to understand the whole, is known as analysis. Let's analyze the term popular culture. Popular is a word common to many European languages. It comes from the Latin word for people, which can also be translated to mean crowd, nation, or population. That word was populus. Just to clarify, the Romans used other words to designate people in different ways. As in England, in which people is a noun, populus was also the designator of a thing or an idea. In English, popular is an adjective. The Latin adjectival form of populus, their equivalent of our popular, was populares, and it meant pertaining to all or most of the people, belonging to or used by the common people, as opposed to the military, the aristocracy, or the senators. In other words, both the term popular and its Latin root populares refer to common people but are used to describe something else. Popular is the quality that belongs to an object that we are observing, just like, say, the color red. Now that we understand that popular is an adjective, we need to understand the idea it describes. In this class, that idea is culture. According to anthropologists Clyde Clacon, Wayne Unterwever, and A.L. Kroeber, in their 1952 article Culture, A Critical Review of Concepts and Definitions, the idea of culture has a history. According to their analysis, the term culture also comes from Latin. It originally referred to cultivation of natural living things. This meaning we still use in terms like agriculture, sericulture, and aquaculture. The use of culture in the sense of social cultivation appears to have begun sometime around 1750, and it may be associated with the Enlightenment. According to Cluckhon et al., French, Italian, and English developed at the same time the term civilization to denote social improvement, urbanization, and refined manners. This usage is very similar to that of culture. In Germany, the more popular term was Kultur, which meant learning and refinement, but in a less universal way than the French and English used civilization. Civilization was set in opposition to barbarism. The German use of Kultur appears not to have been opposed to any specific concept. So one definition of culture, perhaps one of the oldest, is refinement, education, and ability. There are nearly as many definitions of culture as there have been anthropologists to argue them. Anthropology, the academic study of human lifeways and cultures, has always had a need for comprehensive definitions of culture, and so has had more discussions of its meaning than any other discipline. Therefore, anthropologists' ideas are worth knowing because they've thought about it most. According to one definition, culture is a series of situational models for behavior and thought. The generality of this definition encompasses a great deal, but gives us very little to work with. However, this idea that culture is situational is helpful. If it is situational, then culture must change. And we can verify cultural change in every society. So we can be sure that culture is not ethnically or racially innate. It is created and always changing. What used to be popular culture, for example, like Mozart's music, might today be considered high culture. The idea that culture changes is important. We have to think about why it changes. Culture seems often to be an excuse for the way things are. In other words, when we encounter what appear to be unalterable conditions, we often excuse our perceived inability to change these conditions by referring to culture, as if it was some internal, unchanging bedrock of society. If we recognize the ability of culture to change, then we can also explain cultural difference without recourse to the tired trope of race or ethnicity that is also contradicted by science. Here, the website Simplicable gives 15 examples of how cultural change occurs, and I recommend that you go there and take a look at them. This view is also compatible with the anthropological goal of thick description, made famous by Clifford Geertz. Thick description requires that enough detail be given about cultural practices, including the meanings of words, the situation, location, function, and status of people present, that an outsider can grasp the context of the event and recognize its contingency. This is a means of preventing oversimplified general answers that often lead only to stereotypes. It also helps prevent cultural bias. There are other definitions of culture as well. One of them considers culture to be the sum total of a society's beliefs about the world and the art educational processes, literature, and religion. Another, like Hall's definition, seeks to broadly cover all the bases by defining culture as all of the ways in which a society passes its knowledge about the world from generation to generation. So far, none of these really fit when we think of what we think of when we discuss popular culture. Perhaps one or more of them provide an approximation. One point of general agreement in the above definitions seems to be that culture provides a means of education and refinement that makes us capable of living together with each other and cooperating in social groups. World historian Yuval Noah Harari, among others, has emphasized this cooperative capability of humans as one of the key reasons for our historical success. Many species, he says, can cooperate in groups of a few tens of individuals, but only humans have shown the capacity to cooperate in groups of thousands or even millions of individuals. This capacity comes, he reasons, from humans' ability to create culture, and through that shared values, goals, and rules for cooperation. Culture, then, is a system for creating and maintaining cooperative networks, and it both creates and facilitates transmission of content. Now we're getting somewhere. If we start by defining popular culture as a way of transmitting educational or at least learning centered content in a way that many people enjoy, we can begin to see how our definition and the real world phenomenon merge. This leads to some questions. Where does that content come from? Who makes it and what are their goals? Are they aware of the educational power of the content they create? What are the networks of communication by which popular culture travels? Who's the audience and why? There are many, many more such questions, and the answers vary between different popular culture products and different popular culture producers. These are the things that we'll be studying in class.